Welcome along to the last night of this week of qualifiers here in Leicester. And this evening it's two players from opposite ends of Europe. Aaron Hill from Cork in the Republic of Ireland, taking on Anton Kazakov from Dnipro, 2,500 miles away from there in Ukraine. They are squaring up over the best of 7 frames for the right to take on Zutse in the final stages of this BetVictor English Open in Brentwood in a few weeks' time. Rod Eaton is the referee. There's certainly been a lot of snooker played on this main table so far today. All 3 of the matches played on this table have gone to the deciding frame. 40 minutes or so ago that Anton Kazakov of Poland defeated the former world champion Luka Brusel in the most recent of those. And Aaron Hill starts off the evening's entertainment. Kazakov back on tour after a 2-year absence. He really struggled during his initial spell on the tour, but some encouraging early signs that he's much better equipped this time round. This doesn't look good. Yeah, I think he's left this red on. Well, yeah, it might be touch and go actually. Yeah, perhaps he hasn't. I think I can pretty much say with certainty what Hill has been doing in the lead up to this match. He's a big fan of Gaelic games, and today was the All-Ireland football final. Mayo winning for the first time in 75 years after losing in the final 11 times since they last won it. No doubt Aaron Hill will have been watching that this afternoon. So that red to the left corner wasn't on, but he was able to cut that one into the middle. It's an early chance. This 24-year-old. That he cannoned doesn't seem to have gone far enough for the black to be available into that pocket, but screw back off this red and play the black into the same pocket as the red.
7.
So just want to update you on the last few results from the afternoon session. There were still a few matches going on when we left you about 40 minutes ago. They've all been completed now. Jamie Clark of Wales won the last couple of frames to beat Ryan Day 4-3. Clark will play Dave Gilbert in the final stages. Artem Zhuzhin of Latvia, a 4-2 winner against Martin O'Donnell, and he'll now play this year's World Championship runner-up Sean Murphy. Ashley Carty pulled away from 1-all to win 3 in a row and defeat Ben Wollaston 4-1. Carty had a century in the middle of that sequence.
15.
He will face former Scottish Open champion Lee Pei Fan in the last 64. And Jordan Brown, the former Welsh Open champion from Northern Ireland, 4-2 winner against Craig Steadman. Brown will now face Judd Trump.
22.
So many happy memories for Hill from this English Open last season. The first maximum of his career. on to reach the quarterfinals, equaling his best ever run in a ranking event.
Anton, 22.
Kazakov has been involved in 3 previous qualifying tournaments this season for the China Open, Wuhan Open and Shenzhen Open. Didn't get through in any of them. He will be at the British Open, though, because he drew Ding Junhui in the top 16 of their first match held over to be played in Cheltenham. Played once before. It was towards the end of Kazakov's first spell on the tour, Welsh Open of 2024, and Hill won 4-0. Played really well, 3 breaks in the 80s, the highest of those, an 89 in the clinching frame. As I was saying, Kazakov just looks like a different prospect now, after a couple of years away from the tour. Nice confident shot from Hill. 24 years of age, 41 in the world rankings. Briefly one place higher than that in the spring of this year. I mentioned that maximum he made in the English Open last season. First of his career. He made his second only 23 days later. Contributing 2 of the record haul of 24 maximums that we famously saw last season. He's got stuck to the reds a bit, but it's okay. He's still got one to the left corner. Looking anxiously towards the yellow pocket there. The red might drop in. It's a bit of an awkward one, this, in terms of holding position. Yeah, he was always going to be running into that other red.
17.
Just made it very hard to judge, but really he couldn't have judged it better in the end. Now, we'll see this as a position from which he should get this opening frame in the books. His best run of last season, getting to the quarterfinals of the English, and boy did he beat some good players on the way. Stephen Maguire, Mike Carter, Jack Lazowski, And he was right in it at 3-2 down against Jack Jones and had chances in the next couple of frames, but lost them both, and that was that.
Thank you.
He's a player who, never mind his results, just his performances have improved so much over the last 18 years or so. 18 months rather. He's always been very good at winning frames. That's how I would have described him. Taking the close ones, finding a way. Very good under pressure. But what he's really added over the last year or two is massively improved consistency of scoring.
Wow,
has he come far enough for the black? I think he has just about. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. But anyway, 62-0 in front. Potted that black. It's basically frame over. Just would have needed one more red. So hope for Kazakov. Hill frustrated with himself. Shouldn't have left himself where he did on the black. And it's a good chance, this. Still 75 left.
One.
Sure we ever thought we'd see the day where we'd have a match between players from the Republic of Ireland and Ukraine at a time when the main tour has got more Ukrainians on it than players from the Republic of Ireland. Only 2 Republic of Ireland players on the circuit now, both from Cork. Aaron Hill and Aaron Crowley.
8.
We've got 3 Ukrainians now. Such a big place, Ukraine. It's
13.
in terms of physical size, the biggest country, which is entirely within Europe. Huge potential for the game there if any of these 3 guys can come through and become leading players. All very young.
Anton Kazakov. 13.
So Hill returns to the table with a lead of 49, and he might be tempted into taking on a long red here. It's incredible to think how much Hill has achieved when you consider he only started playing snooker 10 years ago. Football was his passion, and then it didn't quite work out, so decided to give snooker a go, and he was pretty good at it. 4 years later, he was beating Ronnie O'Sullivan on TV.
1.
Nice pot, and it could yield big dividends. Good chance, this.
Six.
Well, that is very disappointing that he's only
Anton
managed to
Kazakov.
accrue 6 points from that.
6.
Frame that looked to be slipping away from him. He'd offered a way back in and didn't make much of it there. A couple of chances now. Eventful times off the table recently for Aaron Hill. He got engaged to Caitlin a short time ago. Is he lining up some sort of plant here to left middle? To play it as a shot to nothing. Well, maybe he might do that and try to run away to balk. He had something different in mind and looks to have played it pretty well. A chance at a red, but that may even have been the psychology. Almost daring Kazakov into taking on the difficult pot and lure him in. It's much more of a tactic that you see nowadays. Not sure who the lightest player on tour is, but Kazakov is going to be one of the main contenders. These are the benefits of being 21. Kazakov has already won as many ranking event matches this season, even before the end of July, and as he did in the entirety of his first spell on the tour. He's had 3 wins already this season. He had 3 in those first 2 years. One thing he now looks very unlikely to win is this opening frame, because this red over the green pocket is frame ball for Hill.
One. 5. Eight. 9. 12. 14. 17.
So Aaron Hill led 62-0 in this
24.
frame. He was on the brink of winning it. Didn't get into ideal position on the black. Missed it. Kazakov had a couple of chances to get back into the frame. Wasn't able to make much from them. Hill has got back in to finish the job, and in the end he's a comfortable winner of the opening frame. Hill leads Kazakov 1-0.
Thank you.
Let's have a look at what else is happening here in this evening's session. Matthew Seltz over on the joining table has won the first frame against Dwayne Jones. Break of 51. And, all the other matches still in the first frame. Last 8 places in the English Open field up for grabs. Another match, though, has just completed the opener. Yang Yun has won the first in the all-Chinese clash with Gao Yang. And of that, we'll be going through to face the world champion Wu Yize. So in 5 attempts now across their 2 meetings, Kazakov has still yet to win a frame against Hill. The Irishman has already qualified for the China Open and the British Open. Played on Friday in his British Open qualifier against Panchaya Chenoy, Thailand, the women's world champion. Started brilliantly, 79 and 92 in the first couple of frames, and lost a couple of close ones, so he was pegged back to 2-all, and the next couple of frames were pretty close as well, but Hill took them both. He won 4-2, and he'll be in the draw for the final stages tomorrow. The other tournament he got through in the qualifiers that have already been completed this season was, as I say, for the China Open, which will be happening in a couple of weeks' time. Won his first match 6-1 against Hamad Mia. Wasn't looking good, though. 4-0 down in his second match against Gary Wilson, but came back to win 6-5. So on his way to the China Open, where he'll play Kyron Wilson. The winner of that will play either Mark Selby or Pang Zhongshu in the next round. You could look at it and say that's something of a dream draw for Hill, because he always seems to perform his best against the top-ranked players. He's beaten both Wilson and Selby in recent years in ranking events. Four days after that win over Gary Wilson to qualify for the China Open, he played him again in the final qualifying round for the Wuhan Open. This time lost 5-4. He'd already won 5-0 against Liu Zhihao to get to that stage. And didn't make it to Shenzhen. He was a 5-2 winner against Yao Peng Cheng on Monday. And on Wednesday was back to play Stuart Bingham. It's level at the interval at 2-all, but then lost all of the next 3 frames.
Anton Kazakov.
Also played in Championship League, Hill. Won one of his 3 matches in the first phase. Lost the other 2, so that was that. But he has won the first frame here. Kazakov gets us going again in the second. Kazakov played yesterday. He had to win 1 match to get to this stage, unlike Hill. It was a good win against Alexander Erzenbacher of Switzerland by 4 frames to 1. One point for him was a break of 57 in the frame, which took him to 3-1. A closely contested 5th to get through. He's had some good scalps this season. He's beaten Stephen Maguire and Marco Fu already in the current campaign. Yeah, that was so beautifully struck. He deserves everything he gets from that. That the only 2 Republic of Ireland players still on the tour, both from Cork. For so long it was all dominated by Dublin. Ken Doherty, Fergal O'Brien, Michael Judge, Stephen O'Connor, Stephen Murphy, Eugene Hughes.
No.
There were so many places to play in Dublin in those days, and Dublin has now become one of the richest cities in the world, so the value of property just doesn't make much economic sense anymore to run snooker clubs there, and that's why the power base in the Republic of Ireland has shifted to Cork in recent years. Not evidence there by that shot from Hill. That will be so frustrating. Brilliant red to get in. Got an ideal chance to get off and running again in the second frame, and then just misses a routine black like that. Now, of course, he's got to sit and potentially watch Kazakov mopping up the points, which Hill will know should have been his.
One.
Watched quite a bit of Kazakov now, and just can't help feeling he could do with pulling the trigger a bit quicker sometimes. He's never going to be one of life's naturally quick players, and that's fine, but if you let it become too laboured, it's very hard to get any fluency.
7.
That match I mentioned against Marco Fu was in the Wuhan Open qualifiers last month.
12.
He played a lot of good stuff in that match, but it looked like it was all going to come to nothing. Fu looked like the winner of the decider all over, but just couldn't get over the line, missed match ball a couple of times, and in the end, Kazakov won on the final black. Didn't make the final stages though, lost to Fan Zhengyi in the next round. Also lost his opening match to Jamie Clark in qualifying for the China Open. Last Sunday, fell at the first in the qualifiers for Shenzhen against Ben Mertens. I told you about that win over Stephen Maguire in the Championship League, but it was his only win in the first phase, so he made no further progress there.
Twenty.
We always talk about how hard it is for players coming from far off lands. Got to base yourself in the UK so much of the time. In the case of the Ukrainians, imagine trying to do all that with everything that's so tragically been going on back home for the last 4 years. I think they've all spoken at different times about how they like giving the people they know back home something to be happy about when they win matches.
26. Twenty-seven.
Also got to remember just how young he was. When he first came on the tour, he was only 17. I remember seeing him around the venues in those days and just looked a bit uncomfortable in an adult world. There's a big difference though between 17 and 21. Looks much more grown up in his demeanour now. Nice pause, back of his cue action, and gets through the cue ball very well.
33.
Oh, but not so much there. That's so
34.
frustrating for him.
Green ball, thank you.
Couldn't place the reds better by hand, so it was a great chance. He's really needlessly let it slip.
Anton Kazakov. 34.
He's had a good number of chances in these first couple of frames and hasn't really amounted to much in the end.
Got a miss. Aaron Hill. 4. Aaron, thank you.
Yeah, good work in the end. Second time around. I think a big part of Hill's improvement over the last couple of years has been down to working with Fergal O'Brien, the former British Open champion and World Championship quarter-finalist. Very often for players with a lot of talent, they have the ability to succeed on the tour, but they need someone to guide them as much as anything else and tell them how to go about things and make the most of their talent. And you simply couldn't have anyone better to guide you in those departments than Fergal. But if he's watching, I'd say he's pretty horrified with what he's just seen on that shot. Kazakov back in with a chance to finish what he started.
So. Eight.
But he's gone astray again.
Move on.
These guys all hate losing, but you can take it if you know you've not had many chances or you've played well and just been slightly outdone. And one thing players cannot stand is when they've had chances and not taken them. And so far, that's been the story of this match for Kazakov.
Anton Kazakov. 4.
So hard to get it right. Catch any of those reds too full.
3-1.
More likely than not, it's going to be end of frame. It's okay, Kazakov hasn't been clinical enough with his chances, but already 33 in front. If he was to get in again, wouldn't have to add much more to get this one done.
Oh, I miss. Anton Kazakov. 6.
Yeah, and just with the situation in the frame, the penalty points making a difference. Gradually reducing what Kazakov will need.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
He's just clipped the red this time, and that's turned out okay. Hill's run to the quarterfinals of this event last year is one of 3 ranking quarterfinals he's been to. 1 in each of the last 3 seasons. When he came closest to winning was in the Wuhan Open. It was 3 years ago now. Went to a decider against Wu Yiza. Since, as I'm sure you know, gone on to become champion of the world. I mentioned the defeat to Jack Jones in this event last year. And the other one was in the German Masters, early 2025, whitewashed by Zhao Guodong, who played extremely well. Never looked like a good shot, did it? So Hill comes to the table, 39 behind, but still plenty there, 67 left. Obvious issue is the red a bit tied up next to the pink. Yeah, that's fine. You wouldn't maybe necessarily say he's quite gone favourite for the frame yet, Hill, but it's very much in the balance now. You can find a way to separate that red and pink. No other obvious problem. He's looking to get back on track a bit because he had that quarter-final in this event. He also had 3 last 16 runs in the early stages of last season. But trailed off a bit after that, didn't really do much. The second half of the campaign.
No.
He had done enough in those early stages to make it to the World Grand Prix. First time he'd ever been in a Players' Series event, but lost 5-0 in the first round to Mark Selby in Hong Kong. Only totaled 36 points. So now he has managed to separate the red and the pink.
$16.
Still got that red to think about. The black cushion. It's a shot that's all about getting the right angle so he doesn't have to play it with pace. So I think you have to say at the very least it's a 50-50 frame now, and probably even a bit better than that for Hill.
17. $24.
Well, that is incredible.
23.
Good work to play himself back into the frame. For the first time this evening, he's had a really unexpected miss into that pocket.
1.
So with black here, take Kazakov's lead to 24. Still need red and colour after that.
$8.
He's had so many chances now to win this frame and take control of it that it feels like a bit of a must-win now. Yeah, good shot.
9.
So easy to miss those. Screwing back. Bit of pace. Just to leave Hill needing 2 snookers. And that should be that.
$12. 60.
Well, Hill is going to play on. A couple of snookers needed. I just think, for what it's worth, that trying to get 2 snookers from this position is so hard. Really, the only future in this is take the bold colours. And,
2.
get it down to 23 behind and try to get one snooker on the blue. I think you have more chance that way. Force a respot. I mean, how often do you really see someone get 2 snookers at this late stage of a frame? Argument you could make, of course, take the blue as well. Need one snooker on the pink to tie. Only pink and black left. You've probably got more chance of getting a snooker than you would getting 2. With 5 or 6 colours left on the table. Has been made a lot recently that maybe rules need to be brought in to stop players playing on for snookers. There's no criticism whatsoever of Hill. He's playing within the rules and he's perfectly entitled to do this, but to say how often you really see someone win a frame from this position, it's so rare. I think how much time over the course of a season involved in the game and just watch a lot. You spend watching players playing on in frames that there's no realistic chance of winning. Shouldn't be a problem, this one, but you do see these missed sometimes. Not this time, though. I think it would be a popular move, you know, even among the players if there was to be a bit of a rule change, because I think sometimes players continue in a frame just because they sort of, in some way, feel they should. And although I don't think it applies here, there are times when someone plays on for snookers, they need 3 or 4, and really it's for the purposes of halting the other guy's momentum. Again, all perfectly legitimate and within the rules now, but maybe those rules need to be changed. Not sure how much public appeal there is to players playing on for 10 or 15 minutes. Very little hope of affecting the outcome. Of course, now I've said all that, Aaron's bound to get the snookers, isn't he? Well, maybe not. I think he's left a chance here. Well, green perhaps just a little too difficult, but could just nudge it over the pocket. Surprised he didn't. So many good players and that fine start to last season that Hill had. I spoke about his victims in the English Open. He beat Kyron Wilson in the Wuhan Open. The Northern Ireland Open, where he made the last 16, he beat players of both one-ranking events in relatively recent times, Lee Pei Fan and Barry Hawkins. But the season was to end in disappointment. Played Dave Gilbert in the final qualifying round of the World Championship, just as he had the year before when he was 9-7 up and lost 10-9. 12 months on, had the chance to make amends, but didn't really show up on the day and lost 10-6. So he remains one of the very best players ever to have played at the Crucible. Except, of course, he's in his hometown, where the Crucible is the name of his home club. Doesn't spend a great deal of time there nowadays, of course, because he's got star table and a specially built snooker room that his dad constructed for him at the bottom of the garden. He only lives a few miles away from me. I've been round. It's a wonderful setup he's got. Memorabilia on the walls of some of the great moments he's already had in his career.
Anton Kazakov. And the first.
So that eventually is that. Not a frame to remember by any means, but Anton Kazakov won't mind because at the 6th attempt across their two meetings, he's finally taken a frame off Aaron Hill. We're level at 1-all. Thanawat Tirapong Boon of Thailand, recent returnee to the circuit, has won the first couple of frames against Ben Mertens. Liam Davies 1-all with Lu Hong Yu. And Yun closing in on a 2-0 lead over Gao Yang, not quite there yet though. Matthew Selt and Dwayne Jones level at 1-all. Wang Jinbo has won the first frame against Long Zhehuang. And Lu Haitian on the brink of a 3-0 lead over Stuart Carrington. And the one other match going on this evening, Daniel Wells has won the first frame against Liam Graham. And it looks as though it's about to go 2-0 because he's, well, 67 in front with 3 reds left in the next frame. And there's still one other match from earlier today to be completed. They've been waiting a few hours now. Robbie Williams 3-2 up on Liam Highfield when they had to come off. And that will be played to a finish on the first table to become available this evening. Yeah, the action continues tomorrow, far, far away from here, the Shanghai Masters. A lucrative invitational event, which is now always a big part of the early stages of the season. Kyron Wilson, the defending champion there, and his first match could actually be against Ronnie O'Sullivan, if O'Sullivan can get past Lu Lin Hao in the first round. Big week, of course, for Wu Yeza. Playing a big event in his home country as world champion for the first time. He'll play Su Jiahui or Wang Zhongshu in his first match. The field of 24. Top 8 seeds exempted through to the last 16. Wilson, an 11-9 winner against Ali Carter in the final last year. Carter, though, not in the field this time. Reminds me a bit of Darren Morgan. Very good Welsh player, former World Championship semi-finalist, was a top 8 player at one stage. And big event he won in his career was the Irish Masters in 1996. Beat Steve Davis in the final. Went back the next year as defending champion. Lost to Stephen Hendry, 9-8 on the final black. And, didn't get invited back the next year.
Thank you, frame 3.
So fairly forgettable second frame, as I was saying. It went the way of the Ukrainian. So it's 1-all. For a long evening. 2 frames in, we've already been playing for well over an hour. Yeah, I mean, just look how long he was down on the shot there before he pulled the trigger. He can't play that way. Well, that will do nicely. Might not get him very far, but decent red. He's been working with Lee Walker, who's renowned as coach and mentor these days. Certainly never the fastest of players in his day, but I'd like to think it'd be something he'd work on with him, because he does seem to spend often a long time before hitting the cue ball, and it's not really sustainable. Both of these players, in fact, working with mentors who are former World Championship quarter-finalists. See it again, he was down on that a really long time, and the longer he was down, the more just had to be convinced he didn't have a chance of potting it. That little passage of play has ultimately resulted in Hill. Good chance to get stuck in here at the start of frame 3.
One.
That is far from his best shot. Already run into trouble.
Four.
Obvious aim for Hill this season, I think, is to get into the top 32. Pretty close to it now. Comes into this season with a good chance. I think he's at a stage now where he can start to think he could genuinely be a contender to actually win a ranking event.
Oh no. Four.
I don't think he quite had the game for it a couple of years ago, but Much more so now. From Cork, the second biggest city in the Republic of Ireland, and one with the massive sporting tradition. You think of Roy Keane, the former Manchester United and Ireland football captain. Sonia O'Sullivan, who was perhaps the leading female middle distance runner in the world back in the 1990s and into the early 2000s. Christy Ring, arguably the greatest ever exponent of the national game of hurling. Ralph Keyes, who was once the top scorer in the Rugby World Cup. He's a sports mad little corner of the world. Yeah, good shot that from Kazakov. Wasn't much margin for error at all. Any error he did make could have been costly. Looking to equal the furthest he's ever been in a ranking event. He'll do that if he wins this match, getting to the last 64.
Four.
It just feels a bit flat at the moment.
You see the red behind the two reds, behind the pink. You can see the outside of that one. If I look it over there, you can't. That's the one I looked at first.
big landmark for Kazakov if he wins this match. The first time he's ever won 2 matches in any professional event. Prior to yesterday's win over Erzenbacher, he won 5 matches as a pro across 3 different seasons, but they'd all come in different tournaments.
Oh, and a miss. Downhill 4.
Game feels very hard to both of them right now. Much happening for either player. Even there with the misjudged safety, I don't think he's left anything. Yes, Kazakov. Well, I was going to say, is he going to try and plant one red onto the other from distance? But well, we're going to find out, I suppose. Oh, well, there was actually a gap past the red. Advantages of a 21-year-old's eyes. Well spotted. So definitely a chance of a red here. This is the chance for Kazakov to start making something happen. Yeah, nicely done. It's a friendly flick off the blue, so chance to get going here. But as we've been saying, he's had plenty of chances in this match. Been taking them. That is such a waste.
Anton Kazakov. One.
He was trying to do quite a bit with the cue ball, so you have to wonder, did he just make the old classic mistake of taking his eye off the pot? What's going to make that even harder to take is the fact that he played such a good shot to get in the first place.
One.
So a good chance this for Hill in so many ways. Feels like he's got into a bit of a rut in the match as a whole. He's got into a bit of a rut. This is his opportunity to play his way back into some sort of rhythm. This is why you wonder, even from his own point of view, was it really a good idea to keep playing on for those couple of snookers in the previous frame and knock himself out of his rhythm?
7. Eight. Eleven.
He's well known back home because it's been a while since anyone really has come through in the Republic of Ireland. There have been a few who have flattered to deceive. Davy Morris from Kilkenny showed a lot of potential for a while, but it never really amounted to anything in the end. A few good wins and a few decent runs. It's a ranking event quarter-finalist, but never came anywhere near the sort of things which had been spoken in terms of. It was a huge story when Hill beat Ronnie O'Sullivan in the European Masters 6 years ago. He was only 18 at the time. Sullivan had just won his 6th world title. Of course, it was in the absolute midst of COVID, so everyone was looking for something to be cheery about. And since then, he's been well known, got a lot of attention in his home country. RTE, the national broadcaster, went to his house just before Christmas last year to film an end-of-year piece with him. Highlight everything he'd achieved and the progress he was making. He's always been very big in the Republic of Ireland. Those players I mentioned earlier. Of course, it used to have one of the most famous events on the circuit, the Irish Masters. The old venue in Goffs from 1978 all the way to the year 2000. Continued then at City West for the next 5 years. Goffs, I can confirm, is still standing. Pass it regularly. Have great memories of wonderful days and nights we spent there down the years. Still stages some seniors exhibitions and such like.
20. There
hasn't been a really big professional event in Ireland now since 2013. Well, the Republic of Ireland, that is. Obviously, Northern Ireland has a huge event every October. I just feel if Hill could become a big name, then maybe the next big tournament in Ireland may end up being played in his home city. He's starting to get back a bit of that rhythm I was talking about, and the situation he's in now with a few more available reds, a lead of 34. In terms of getting the frame done here.
25.
Always feel he's got a great temperament, doesn't seem to get fazed by much, and very often seems to find an extra gear towards the end of a match. The winning line tends to inspire rather than faze him.
$32. 33. $59. 40.
So Black would take the lead to 57. So still wants to find one more red after this, but he's got a nice angle to put himself in position. And it should be 2-1.
$47. 48. 55. Hill, 55.
Well, it's the first half century from either player in the match. One more red would probably have seen it out. As it is, Kazakov comes back to the table 65 behind. There's 4 snookers needed, so again, really, what is the point? People always saying when there are reds on the table, you can get a free ball. How often does someone actually end up winning a frame that way? A little too casual about that hill, but not entirely surprising after all the effort he put into that 55 break and the fact that he knows it's going to be his frame anyway. Will be that.
1. 5. 6.
Both players really seem to have lost any sense of rhythm or momentum. As Kazakov lost the frame, he's seen his opponent get a bit of that rhythm back. A break of 55 then, the key for Aaron Hill. Nice break of the match so far, and it puts him back into the lead at 2 frames to 1. Tanawat Tirapongpai Boone 2-0 up on Ben Mertens, and he's leading by 39 in the next, and yeah, that one looks more or less done, so should get to 3-0 there. 2-all between Lu Hongyu and Liam Davies. Zhang Yun is now leading 3-0 over Gao Yang. Matthew Selt also just 1 away from victory now, 3-1 ahead of Dwayne Jones. 1-all between Long Zhihuang and Wang Jinbo. And Daniel Wells of Wales very much on top against Scotland's Liam Graham. Wells now leads by 3 frames to 0. He's got breaks of 124 and 81. Graham, in those first 3 frames, scored just 1 point. Although he is currently on a break of 28 in the next frame. So not been a classic so far, let's be fair about it. Better signs from Hill there. Wasn't straightforward, he put in a lot of effort to get that 55 break. That match that Hill played against Gary Wilson. Qualifiers for Wuhan a few weeks ago. Really was extraordinary. As I was saying, 4 days earlier, he'd come from 4-0 down to beat Wilson, qualify for the China Open. When they met in Wuhan, in the qualifiers for Wuhan, Wilson was leading 4-3. Hill made a century to force a decider, got in first in that decider, but on 62 he missed match ball black. Chance moments later at a long red, which would get him over the line, and he'd been knocking in a lot of good long balls that day. And just as he was getting down to play it, referee John Palou noticed that all the points that should have been on Hill's side of the scoreboard had in fact been applied to Wilson. I think it's fair to say Hill should have been allowed to get down and complete the shot before it was rectified, but he was made to wait while all the points were taken off individually and then put on to him. Ended up missing the red when he eventually did get to play it, and Wilson cleared up with 65 to win on the black. Think of some less laid back players who would have been absolutely seething about it. Sort of feels like a must-win frame now coming up for Kazakov. Always reluctant to say that when it isn't the frame that a player needs to get over the line, and particularly so in best of 7. You're never really so far behind that there's no hope. But particularly if Hill was to win this with a good break, very hard to see Kazakov coming back from there.
Thank you, frame 4.
So the Ukrainian keen to get on with it. Trails by a frame again. It's 2-1 to Hill. you're going to play an attacking safety shot like that, you've got to get a good cue ball, and he has. For all the world as though that cue ball was going to drop, but somehow stayed above ground. Ball in hand, I think we definitely would have seen Hill have a go at a red from distance. Does he fancy a red to right middle? I think it goes. It's tight anyway, and he doesn't seem to be looking at that. Indications are he's examining the safety options. Spent a while figuring it out. In the end, he's played it very well. To end up in almost the same spot again. He just doesn't want to get bogged down. I mean, there's no question he's a much better player than Kazakov. Bit of a slog at the moment. Not sure who the young lady there is. She's certainly watching very attentively. I think she's here with Kazakov. So much snooker played at this venue in Leicester in recent years. Things like the British Open, the Shootout, a few other things as well. Champion of Champions, of course, will be here in November. Very different setup then, of course. Big crowds all the way, big names, huge money. lovely red.
One.
I think it was played as a set-up for the next safety.
Good ball, thank you. I know. One.
Well, can't criticise him for going for it. Sometimes you've got to try to do something to just change the tempo and make things happen. But you've got to live or die by those decisions. In this instance, he's handed a golden chance to the Corkman.
Eight. Nine. Sixteen. Seventeen.
I think as well what Fergal O'Brien will have instilled in him is just how hard you've got to work. I remember chatting to Aaron a few years ago and talking about the time he puts in on the practice table and the way he goes about it all. And I remember thinking, doesn't really sound like quite the intensity of preparation that you need. Well, if there's one person, again, who's going to educate him in that, it would be Fergal. Just to practice for incredible amounts of hours in his heyday.
31.
At one point a top 10 player in the world.
32.
Aaron's a different animal to Fergal. He's never going to be as intense as him. Much more of an instinctive rather than methodical player. You can still learn a lot from him about how to make the most of the ability you've got. And again, it's into that pocket. He's missed at least 3 really bad balls into that bottom right corner. Just a little sign of frustration there as he returns to his chair.
One.
So Kazakov is still very much in this 4th frame and still in with every chance of getting level once again. I think at the moment you'd have to put him in that category of players. Too good for the amateur game, Not yet quite good enough for the pro scene.
7.
He won the WSF Junior Championship in 2022 to earn his card. It was a particularly commendable effort because it happened just around the time his country was being invaded by Russia. He went back onto the tour earlier this year, winning the European Under-21 Championship in Spain. And off the back of that, with his tour place already secured, he won the European Amateur Championship as well. But when I say not yet quite good enough for the pro game, I really do mean not yet. I'm not prejudging anything. I said he's beaten some good players already this season. He's a much better player than he was in his first spell on tour.
$23. 24. 31. 32. Blue ball.
Might be reminded of home there. Yellow and blue next to each other, resembling his country's flag.
$37. 38.
Good effort. And actually, in the end, it's turned out okay because he's got this red to left middle.
43.
Given the way he's played so far in this match, if he could win the frame from here, it would be a really impressive effort. He knew, didn't he? He knew straight away. But again, it could have turned out a lot worse for him.
43.
Hasn't left anything on. All three reds are safe. I just think it's very hard to build any rhythm or momentum playing the way he does. Very deliberate, quite methodical.
from the miss. And look at the cross.
Sort of shot that can make you look quite silly as a professional snooker player.
Yeah.
Everyone does it from time to time.
Thank you.
Pretty much guarantee he won't do it again. The moment I said that, I knew he was going to. So he's going to be warned now. Which pretty much guarantees he won't do it a third time. Not sure I like the word warned. Just sort of informed, I guess, might be a better one. That if he misses it a third time, it'll be loss of frame.
I don't know if you missed this time. I'm not doing Anton.
Only happened a handful of times, really, that someone has been awarded a frame for the 3 successive misses when not snookered. I know that when that rule was brought in, it's well over 30 years ago now, players thought, well, it will just never happen. In a year or so, there had been the first high-profile example of it. A lesser figure than Steve Davis on the receiving end. So Kazakov, in the end, from that situation, although Hill did manage to make contact the third time, the Ukrainian was presented with a chance. He's already 13 in front. Given the fact that he's not really taking his chances well and not really looked to be in any sort of form at any point, he'd be absolutely delighted. If he can get to 2-all. Struck that well. Nice timing. Oh, but is it going to work? Well, maybe just.
4.
If he is going to play the pot here, these are horrible. 2 balls very close together. Playing at a pace, I would say it's impossible, but it's very unlikely you're going to make the pot. Okay, so Hill gets back in, 16 behind. Has to be all about that red by the baulk line and near the side cushion. Played to get in behind it. He didn't intend to be quite this straight, but won't be too disappointed. So really, you have to feel one half decent shot here. He should go 3-1 up.
6.
Is more than good enough. Relieved to take this frame, as it looks as though he's going to do now. Remember, he was leading 39-0 and bad miss on the red.
8. 10.
So needs up to and including the pink.
$13. $17.
So it's another frame that could have gone either way. It's a frame in which Hill has now come back into the lead. He's 2 balls away from winning it.
$22.
So much to regret in this match for Kazakov. A bit more in this frame. It almost slipped away from Aaron Hill, but he's ended up winning that frame on the pink. He just needs one more now to advance to the final stages of this English Open. He leads Anton Kazakov by 3 frames to 1. So Tanawat Tirapongpai Boon of Thailand has defeated Belgium's Ben Mertens by 4 frames to 0. He's played well. He had breaks of 57, 64 and 81 from the only scoring visit of the clinching frame. So he's through to play Mark Williams in the final stages. Liu Haitian has won as well, also by 4 frames to 0 against Grimsby's Stuart Carrington. Very good performance, really. 86, 77 and 100 in the first 3 frames. And then he comfortably won the last as well. Carrington actually totaled only 18 points in the whole match. So Liu Haitian will play Barry Hawkins in the next round. So when the match is still going on, Liu Hongyu 3-2 up on Liam Davies. Robbie Williams and Liam Highfield have finally resumed several hours after coming off the table, with Williams leading 3-2. So they're in the early stages of the 6th frame, and Zhang Yun is 3-1 up against Gao Yang. They are playing for the right to meet world champion Wu Yiza in the final stages. Matthew Selt leading 3-2 over Dwayne Jones. Wan Jinbo 2-1 up on Long Jihuang, and Daniel Wells now leading 3-1 against Liam Graham, after the Scot took the 4th frame to keep the match going. Well, it's been a slog. They've been playing for just over 2 hours to get those 4 frames done. The thing about it is, when it's a qualifier, you really don't care how you play as long as you get through, because being in a tournament where you think, well, I'm in the next round, but I've got to play again tomorrow, and if I play like that, I'm not going to have much chance. In this case, as a qualifier, you're playing to get into the next round, but you know that round isn't going to be played for several weeks yet, so play isn't really relevant. Stephen Maguire there, you can see on the next table. One of the players Kazakov has already beaten this season. Snooker to look forward to over the next while. Big run of events now coming up in China. As I said, the Shanghai Masters starts tomorrow. And 6 days after it finishes, the China Open returns to the calendar for the first time since the pre-COVID era. And a week after that, it's the Wuhan Open. And then attention will shift to England. 2 events back to back, the British Open in Cheltenham, which starts on the August Bank Holiday Monday, and then literally the day after the British Open ends, it's the English Open in Brentwood. Back to China for the inaugural Shenzhen Open. Northern Ireland Open then in Belfast in late October. Just after that finishes yet another event in China, the International Championship. But then all the focus returns to Britain for a while. You've got the Champion of Champions here in Leicester, UK Championship in York. Finishes on the 6th of December, and there'll still be the shootout in Blackpool and the Scottish Open in Edinburgh to come before Christmas. Masters, obviously, at Alexandra Palace in the new year. It's the German Masters and the Welsh Open. And then be a bit more action in Asia. World Grand Prix in Hong Kong in February. Back to England for the Players' Championship in Telford.
Thank you for 5.
And one last Chinese event for the season in Yushan in the second half of March. And then the season, as it always does now, finishes with back-to-back events in the north of England. The Tour Championship, the biggest of them all, the World Championship. But that's all a long way off now. Still the very early stages of this 26-27 season. Darren Hill is looking for one more frame to claim his place in the English Open. Not his finest break-off. That's really nice.
One.
That is right up there as one of the best shots he's played all night. But he'll be disappointed with his performance so far. He knows he's had chances. He knows he's not been clinical and effective. It's not too late to change it. And this is exactly the sort of chance from which he could do it.
Hey.
Just feel like he needs to free himself up. Try to rely on instinct a bit more. Maybe play a bit quicker. Nothing to lose at this stage. He's not realistically going to turn it around from 3-1 down. He's gone about this so far. Already he's left himself a tricky one here. Only 3 balls into this break. Again, look how long there. He was perfectly still before delivering the cue.
No.
It's just not good technique. Well aware the black was making it a bigger pocket.
Oh.
It'd be nice to see Hill free himself up a bit as well. He's looked a bit inhibited tonight.
Oh. Thirteen.
Well, if he can see this out, I think Hill will be reasonably pleased.
20.
His week's work here in Leicester. He's qualified for the British Open. The English Open. Okay, he didn't make it to Shenzhen.
21.
Won't make the obvious meatloaf reference. But in all seriousness, if you're getting through from 2 out of the 3 events, then that's not bad. Oh, but that is... Oh, that's a terrible shot. That's just about the worst shot he's played all night.
One.
That's not brilliant. He's left himself close to the cushion. What a distance between cue ball and black. Yeah, pretty good that.
Eight. Nine.
Doesn't look like he's on anything here. Unless that red goes to right
50.
middle, but he's looking at now. Don't think that's an option.
Anton Kazakov. 15.
These reds are sitting pretty nicely, so whoever gets the next chance, it's likely to be a good one. Certainly can never fault Kazakov's commitment and effort. He gives absolutely everything from start to finish. Very commendable when you spent most of your professional career getting beaten. Never really seems to lose heart. It's a really good shot, you know. And it has opened up a clear path now into the final stages of this English Open.
Seven. Eight.
Just a little complicated, obviously, by a black spot being blocked, as it seems to be. Pink having that red next to it.
$50.
Still a golden chance.
16. $23.
Oh, he's not going to do it again, is he? That's at least the third time tonight
23.
that Hill
Anton Kazakov.
has gone in off in a middle pocket when in prime position. For all that Kazakov has just never really got going tonight, bottom line is he's only 16 points behind here, 3 reds left. If he can win this frame, he's still right in this. I say it about best of 7. Never too far behind to turn it round. Would have been a match winner in all likelihood if it had gone in. Playing it with that much force and that much pace. Even if he missed it, could finish just about anywhere. Another chance to try to turn around this frame. Well off target. And for all that Kazakov has struggled to find wins in these early years of his pro career, he's definitely a significantly better player than he's shown tonight. He did show it against Marco Fu on the main table in the Wuhan qualifiers. This evening he's never got going. And yet, this match still isn't gone for him. The other thing from Hill's point of view that will mean he doesn't dwell too much on his performance tonight is that he seems to play better against the better players. Quite cause for concern going forward from here. Is that going to be the end of the road for Anton Kazakov in this English Open? Came into this match tonight looking to win back-to-back matches in the same tournament for the first time in his professional career. But I think he's going to be very disappointed about how he's played. At times it's been the run of the balls, but overall he's just not shown up. See him next against Ding Junhui, the British Open in Cheltenham in 5 weeks from now. But it's not quite over yet.
One.
And this can go wrong. Green right over the pocket. Cue ball coming from a long way away. Obviously the pot is guaranteed, but you don't know what the cue ball's going to do, and well, he's going to hate what it's done. I thought he might have played for the black off the previous red. It was a strange selection. Maybe a bit of the hit and hope about that. Maybe there was also quite a bit of pent-up frustration in there. Okay, so Kazakov does come back to the table. He's only 16 behind. Returns to the table purely to put Hill in again. Look at the two reds. They're both out in the open. Very portable. Nothing else really safe. Off about 27 cushions there. Just to make it worse, he's given away 7 rather than 4. He's left the red on. Oh, this would be sensational if Kazakov was to win a frame that looked to be gone. So if he's to win the frame at this visit, feels like it's all about this next shot. But is he even going to try to get on the red, or will he just take the 7 points and play a safety? Wouldn't be a bad option. I know he's played to get on it. Very hard to judge, but he's done a fine job of it. Pretty much perfect.
8.
So the red will get him level. What a chance this is.
Nine. Round ball.
So he leads by 4. Needs yellow, green, brown and blue.
13.
Kazakov left a red on to the middle, probably not even 10 minutes ago. Must have thought more likely than not he'd already played his last shot. As it is now, Hill in his chair, probably already preparing for the next frame.
18. $22. Long round.
Just a little bit of wobble, but the brown was never going to stay up. just bungled the blue. And it goes back to what I've been saying all evening, just way too long before he pulled the trigger. You can cut him a bit of slack there because with a shot like that, using all the long stuff, it's hard to get comfortable on it. But what a horrible way for it to end, from Kazakov's point of view, if indeed it is to be the end.
Fine.
Because there is still one last hope for him here. Hill has got to get to the other end of the table and get on the black. Even cued this too well.
11.
Well, this is a horrible shot. Queuing in the jaws of the pocket. Well, he's not even going to play the pot, and I think that may be the right decision. Oh, he has gone for it, and he's got it. Well, it looked like he was lining up to play the safety shot there, but you know, Aaron Hill has played so much better than that so many times in the past, and he will do on many, many occasions in the future. Break of 55 in the third frame, the only thing approaching a highlight for the Irishman. He has defeated Anton Kazakov by 4 frames to 1, and Hill will go through to play Zhu Se in the last 64 of the English Open in Brentwood. So let's just check in on the other scores. The match is still going on out there. We've got Lu Hongyu and Liam Davies playing their decider. They're just starting that. Winner of that will play Ronnie O'Sullivan in the final stages. Robbie Williams and Liam Highfield, well, they had to wait several hours to get back out there. They're in a decider now, and Williams is leading by 54 points. Gao Yang is just about to make it 3-all against Jiang Yun. It already is 3-all between Matt Selt and Dwayne Jones, but Selt is leading 59-0 in the next. Long Zhihuang and Wang Jinbo level at 2-all. Long leading by 50 points to 0 in frame 5. And Daniel Wells has now finished it off against Liam Graham by 4 frames to 1. Wells will play Gary Wilson in the final stages. So it's been a long all day here. We had 3 deciders on the main table and then a 2.5-hour epic just there finishing in favour of Aaron Hill. So with Michael Day earlier and me, Michael McMullen, this evening, it's been very much a case of the two Michaels. So it's good night from me, it's good night from him.